All right. So I'm glad to be here, you guys. I really am. This is, I think this is only the second group meeting I've been in since we all got locked down from COVID. You know, that's not a part of our school. And we had our first school meeting maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that we met all in person. So it feels good to be back out here, man. But it also feels good to be here because this year I turned 50. And when I saw Peter walk in, I saw John walk in, I saw Joe walk in. I have a relationship that with all these gentlemen. Peter was actually the attorney for my family or representing my mother. I can't remember. I was 2. But literally, my family had to make a decision to remove me from my mother's home, her care. She wasn't able to care for me. Nice woman, beautiful woman, but just not capable of raising me. And my father, he wasn't involved at all either. And he knows more of that story about my childhood, I'm sure, than I do. But to be here now, turning 50 on Friday, it's like I'm bookended. I get the chance to see you from the, in the beginning and be a part of that. The Maryland and the team have heard about my experience as well. This was the man who handled that decision that was made. John was my football coach at West High School, and he was actually one of the nicest, but also direct. He was a great coach, nicest person. We all loved playing for John. We did. And to know that we're really not that far apart in age, but there's a big difference between a 17-year-old and probably 24 or whatever. At that point, we had Bert Hobley, who was sort of a named coach at the time, who was probably beyond his years in coaching at that point. But we liked playing for him, but we could relate to John a lot more. So to be there, and then I call him Chief Balance because I was still hoping he would have been our chief of police. I like Sean Barnes, the new chief of police, but I thought that job should have been yours, not to provoke any controversy. Chief Balance, so to speak, with you guys is great. One City, you all have been here since the beginning. When we first, even before we kicked off the school, I spoke to Rotary in 2014, that fall, when I made a decision right when I left the Urban League. We were going to stay here in Madison. We weren't going to move our kids again so quickly. This is my birth home, my home. I was born here. My family's been here since 1907 on my grandfather's side. His uncle came here in 1907 as a porter on a train and served as the executive messenger or secretary for 5 Wisconsin governors back when they had 2-year terms. His picture somewhere in the Capitol with, used to be in a rotunda with his mother, Hetty Pierce, who's still the oldest person that ever died in Wisconsin. She was born in slavery in 1829 in South Carolina and died here in 1944. She outlived all of her children, etc. So that side goes back. My grandmother came here in 1931 from Arkansas, a little small town called Gurdon, after her father passed away. Back in those days, if you were affiliated with the church, African Methodist Episcopal, my grandfather was Catholic. They didn't let the women or mothers just raise their kids by themselves with no support. And she didn't have family that close. So she chose to come here with the church community, brought her up here. And so this is where we all got our start. But I put the name One City up there and wanted to share that. Sorry, I unmuted myself. It asked me to unmute and follow the record.
Sorry.
There you go. I'm muted again.
I hit the wrong button.
But to be here and have these guys here with me, it's sort of surreal because the whole notion of One City is really about my personal experience. Having been raised here by my aunts and grandparents and cousins and everybody in the neighborhood, I tell people that's where One City comes from. We talk about the village. It takes a village to raise a child. We know that's the case, but it's somewhat overplayed because we don't see it enough. And so what I wanted to do was create an environment where we would show Madison not what it can't do, but what it can do. And so the whole focus on One City is to show our community and others in the future what you can do if you all come together and wrap your arms around the children. You can produce excellence. And we see a lot of it every day. Marilyn Ruffin here, she's our Vice President of Family and Community Initiatives at One City. She's the reason why I've never seen the parent engagement that we have at One City, any school I've been affiliated with. but it's because of her team, her personality, the seriousness that she takes this. We have parents on our board. We have 3 parents on our board. We have an active parent council. We have parents who are doing graduation events, and I don't know, all the other stuff you've got people doing. It's been wonderful. But again, for them, when you ask them what they think about One City, the first thing that always comes up, which I'm proud of, is they feel like it's a family. So my family was the city. So it's also, I wanted to bring up one thing. You talked about the gentleman who was a World War II veteran who passed away. We've reached this divisive point in America where we've been coming to this place, but we should be celebrating people like that. And right now, those names just blend into the background for people other than those who they had deep relationships with. But you know, to be an American hero, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of them. We should be celebrating them. So thank you. Would you make sure we get that name? Because at One City, I'll show you this building that we're putting together. Every single person that has had some role in my life, or other people who've done some really phenomenal things, just good things in our community, are going to find their names in that building. We're working with Zebra Dog, Mark Schmitz, and it's going to be a huge task. But you know, we shine a light a lot on the things that aren't happening. There's a whole lot of good things that are, and so we want people to feel connected when they come into our space. So if you wouldn't forget, I want to make sure I get that name.
Absolutely.
One City Prep. These are 2 of our young men here. We have 161 children this year right now. We have 28 children in our preschool. The rest are in our elementary school. We will grow to 302 students next year. Right now, we have 2-year-olds to 2nd grade. We will have 3rd and 4th grade added next year. And then, because of the generosity of Ms. Pleasant Rowland, who shocked us on a Zoom call when I was going to ask her for money to help us with a building that we're buying, she decided she was so excited and supportive of what we were trying to do that she was going to give us the money to buy the whole thing plus some. So the building you'll see is a building we're purchasing. We close on Wednesday with WPS. Mike Hammerlick, their CEO, and his team have been extraordinary to work with. So has the city of Monona. You know, they're really like detailed about these things. So I'm learning because I've never bought a big building like this before. It's my house, you know. And so I'm like a fly on the wall in these meetings, and then they ask me to make decisions, and they don't know at night I'm researching all this stuff to make sure, calling people, hey, what about this, to make these decisions. But people have just been kind to us, and so she gave us the $12 million to buy the building, plus another $2 million to go towards renovation. And 2 years ago, she gave us $5 million very quietly to help us stabilize our fundraising, because we still had to fundraise. But I told her, I said, you know, we've got a plan to move this agenda and really change education in our state. I can't really get out of the gate if I'm spending 90% of my time just fundraising. And so she gave us $5 million to help us with that, and we've gotten this far. So to date, we've raised over $26 million. Only, but 750,000 of it has come outside of Madison. All the rest of it has come from right here. So for our kids, this notion that Madison won't support us, we're challenging that too. Because I had a whole lot of people tell me why not to do a preschool in South Madison, why we wouldn't get support from the community and all of this. And I'm like, you know what? I grew up here. My family loved everybody. If you know my Aunt Gretchen, everyone, that's how they are. And I have everybody who looks like everyone in this room, plus some in my family. And I just know that in every person is a kind heart. So what we're thankful for in our children when they see this is they're going to see a community that has built them and that they can be a part of, and they can also help grow and build others too. So I'm just going to flip through this part real quick. We started the preschool in 2015. We started the organization in 2014. And then in 2018, we always knew we wanted to grow through 12th grade, but our families were really pushing us to start because the University of Wisconsin system created the opportunity through legislative action to charter public schools. And the UW system decided, okay, with President Ray Cross, we're going to start doing this. Came to me and asked, he said, Kaleem, I never understood the issue of Madison Prep. why didn't people support it? Because when I was in the SUNY, the State University of New York system, like charters, that's what we did. We chartered schools through there. He said, do you know why? And I said, well, the community wasn't ready for it. They don't understand it. He said, well, if I got the ability to charter, would you do it? He says, I'm thinking of asking the governor to include us in the legislation. I said, absolutely. So when they got the approval and then they had created the office, we applied immediately. And we were their first true public charter school. There was another that converted from a private school status to a charter. But we kicked that off with kindergarten and 4K. And now we just go to the grade years so we kind of get things right, see where the staff will come from. And then once we got comfortable, we were like, okay, now we can push the accelerator and grow a little bit faster. So this fall we'll add 3rd and 4th grade, but this here was our families, we asked them, would they like to see a secondary school? Again, out of 140 families, out of 160 something kids, we had great responses, but this is what they said, absolutely. So they wanted to see us grow. This is the plan that we have, and I'll move that out of the way for you. Oh, it's still gonna stay on the side, sorry. So our plan is to grow from 2-year-old all the way to 12th grade. And so at the bottom, our preschool is all about making sure children understand what it means to be in control of their own learning, that they become really effective, independent learners. In the world that we're in now, where we're going, you have to have significant skills, but you also have to have significant passion. Those two have to meet. And I tell people in Black homes, we're also guilty of, we grew up in a fear-based model. Don't go here, don't go there, don't touch this, don't do that. I can't tell you how many times as a kid, I heard it in my own home, but I would see it with our friends. We can't go play in those sticks over there. There might be something in there that makes that sticks you. I mean, it was like, so then you get the kids in school and they want them to think. And some of our families, some people think, well, the kids haven't been raised right. No, we're just really strict at home. It's like you can't step out of the box. And so we need our children to climb out of those boxes to be more creative thinkers. And then you get to 4K and kindergarten, that's where we just start to introduce some of the real foundational skills. We still allow kids to play, but 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon in 4K, we do work with word identification, letters, things like that. We play with letters and numbers and just to develop those foundational reading skills and math skills. And then you get to our elementary school, and that's where the K through 5 there is where then we start to really build up more of it's all about learning how to read, write, and compute and be passionate about learning. So we have a longer school day and longer school year. We're the only public school in Wisconsin that has that. All charter schools are public schools. They're just chartered by an entity that you live with a 5-year contract. And if you meet your results, you can continue. If not, they can close you down. And so it really is about driving innovation. So for us, we said, parents don't have money to send their kids to places over the summer. We know about the summer slide. Children stop learning over the summer. Then they start out the school year and they're right back to square one again. So we wanted to stop that. And then after school, a lot of our families can't afford $180 a week to have their kids after school. And we wanted them to have an enriched childhood. And so we created the extended school day and year to engage them in more activity. When I grew up, we played hockey. My cousins all played hockey. It was a thing. And there were more Black kids on skates when I was growing up. We were in drum and bugle corps. We were doing things like that. I showed people pictures of the drum and bugle corps back in the late 70s, early 80s. You remember that? Almost half of the group was Black. And I'm like, but if you saw people here now, they wouldn't see that. It's like, how did this happen? Well, more poverty moved to Madison, and then a lot of us moved away. So those of us who would have helped provide an entree to those who could be involved in activities like that, we left. So all my cousins played hockey. They were really good at it. My cousin Aaron was the top goal scorer at Edgewood High School his senior year. And we ended up, the kids are playing hockey, they're ice skating, they're gonna learn how to play hockey. They're doing, I think we got horseback riding. Lucy said this fall or something she's doing. We're doing martial arts, art, dance, all of those things that we do, but we also expose them to a lot of different activities because that childhood is about exposure and it gets them hooked and interested in things. And then you get to 8th and 9th grade, that's when we really start digging in more into the career and high school, college preparation. And we are going to open a secondary school in that new building next fall. We'll add 6th through 10th grade. And we are going to be the state's first true early college and career high school, where right now we're working with Madison College and UW very privately. on creating bachelor's degree programs that kids can start in 9th grade. And so we are actually, the first one we'll kick off is a bachelor's degree program that will start in education because we don't have enough teachers, number one. We don't have enough teachers of color, number two. And so students can take, because we have 3 semesters a year, we end on Friday, our school year. They can take their classes starting in 9th grade, those foundational classes. If you went to college, you took chemistry, biology, all the stuff you took in high school. So it's like, well, we just get a master's degree teacher to teach it. And instead of taking college algebra in a semester, we take it over a year. And so we can actually give them those classes earlier. And then by the time they're in 10th and 11th grade, they'll be taking their classes through Madison College. And instead of hiring a slew of teachers, we're going to use our per pupil funding to pay for their tuition. And then they have 2 years of college at UW-Madison. So their 12th grade year and 1 more year, by age 19, they can end up with a bachelor's degree in elementary, secondary, special education, and early childhood. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation got behind this notion of developing kids career-wise earlier based on research I commissioned partially on, not completely, but I commissioned a nation study on high school graduation, which is why we talk about graduation rates today. I did that in 2001. And then when Tom Vander Ark was the head of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, when he first started their education arm, I begged him, man, please, you got to keep this study going. And then the U.S. Department of Education Secretary, Ron Page, it just blew up. The report blew up around the country. He flew the researchers, and Adam Gammer was one from UW. And we all sat around the table with him, and he told them how legit this research was to show only 50% of Black and Latino students who graduated from high school, only 76% of white kids nationwide. Because the dropout rates looked at who started 12th grade and finished. It didn't look at all the kids we lost starting in 8th and 9th grade. And so that led to, well, we got to look deeper at college readiness too. Not only does going to high school matter, but what program you take in high school matters. Are you on a college track? So a lot of that stuff got started from this. Well, it's just coming full circle for me that we're going to push the envelope further. And then this thing, and I'll show you the building, and then I'll take some questions from you, but portrait of one city graduate, learning, thinking, problem solving. We're leaving these young people more problems to shake a stick at. Every generation has always left problems, but because we're global now and everybody can see it, like, man, these kids, if I was them and I was looking at my handheld device and I saw things going in Myanmar and all these other places, things that you would only see if you were reading about it in a magazine. Now it's every day, all day. They're stressed. And we got to prepare them for that, to be problem solvers, transformational leaders. We can't keep everything the same. Honoring our heroes and people, we got to keep doing that. There's things about our culture we can't let slip, no matter how upset we get about how things are. But at the same time, we got to be able to fix and build things. Role models and mentors, we need them to be that for children and their families and their neighborhoods and the community, and for all of us to see that, man, when you see young people doing great things and moving forward, it makes you feel like the investment's worth it, like we're all going somewhere. It makes you see the future better. Right now, we hear about kids stealing cars and doing all that stuff. It doesn't make you feel as good. So I want to make sure that we don't have kids that we come to one city, they won't be stealing your cars. So we build them, designing them. And then effective communicators, that's really important. You know, we talk a lot about our habits of character in one city, respect, integrity. All those things are a part of it. You have to demonstrate that. So we're constantly working with them, starting in preschool, on what those habits of character mean. And then prepared for success, that's why we're doing all these things. Summit Credit Union, we haven't announced it yet, but Kim Spanham, she's gotten really involved with us. She's been supportive of my wife and I since we've been here. But they're going to put they have 4 credit unions in 4 comprehensive high schools in Madison. They're going to put one in our building, and they're going to actually contribute $75,000 to build it out, and they're going to manage it. So it'll show up on their website as a Summit branch. But they're also going to help us with our financial literacy program. Our kids will leave high school with a driver's license. They will leave high school knowing how to fill out a job application, housing application, to understand what it means to get a mortgage, to understand the stock market means. I wasn't comfortable enough to tell people I can manage your organizational finances, but my own, I don't know anything about the stock market. That was when I was 40. It was when I finally told somebody that. I was brave enough to say that. I don't want our kids to go there. College ready, they're taking college courses. All of them have to start by 10th grade. So a lot of the support we give our kids, if they come in later, we'll be prepared to help them. And then perceptive of self and community and equipped to tackle those big issues. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is this here. This is the building that, and I'll just run through this real quick, that we're buying. It's WPS. I think it's a little bit bigger than their headquarters, but it includes that parking deck right there.
Oh, wow.
This is it.
Wow.
It's 157,000 square feet. It's 3 levels above ground, one level below grade. This is the campus. At the top right, if you can see it in the room, it's a big 13.5 acres, includes all the woods that are there.
What happened to their building that's just been vacant?
So they said they had 30% of their employees were virtual before the pandemic, and now they're projected somewhere between 65 to 75% of their employees will come back to work.
Okay.
So they had already made a decision to sell this building. They had a buyer.
Okay.
Can you flip back and show which building? Yeah.
So it's this building right here.
That's the
So
parking rooms, yeah.
that's the parking ramp. We own that whole property. We're gonna own
The
it.
red outline.
The red outline.
Outline.
Yeah. And this is the building,
1707 is the building.
1707.
Seems like a lot more space than you need.
Wait till you see. That's what I thought. Remember that? The walkthrough, I was like, oh, no, that's too big. And I was listening to my principals behind me. They were talking and they were like, oh, we could do this. So I was just listening. And then I went home and they changed my mind. For this year, this is what it looks like. You see Lake Wabesa, Mud Lake right there.
That'll be K through
And then
12.
It's walking distance to Monona, Lake Monona. It's
4K
K through 12. There'll be 900 kids in here.
Oh my goodness.
Kaleem, is the building closer to the Beltline or to Broadway?
Broadway. That's the line in front of you right there.
Right in the middle?
And then Broadway is right there, the next street over.
That's you speeding going by right there.
And this is what it looks like. You can see where Line Energy Center in the back there. To give you a perspective on where it's located. And then this is what it looks like when you walk up to it. A lot of windows. We like the light. And the way that JLA Architects is designing it, we got Fendorf involved in the construction. We've got quite a few people involved in helping to make this happen. We're building out a school, not to tell you all these spaces, because you can't really see them even online very well, but that little orange area at the bottom, that's actually a lot of square footage. That's going to be our tech center. So my team and I, for example, we're flying out to California here in August, and I'm going to meet with people. John, John Fisher, whose family founded the Old Navy Gap. His mom, Don and Dolores, they were they invested in these KIPP schools, which are the largest number of charter schools in the country. I'm going to meet with him. He's one of the major investors in Tesla and SpaceX. And I want them to work with us to build this out. I want our kids to be working on the latest stuff. And so the co-founder, Vivek, who's a young man, he's my son's age, he's gonna be 28 in November. He actually co-founded the school with me, and he's at Stanford Business School, but taking him a year off to work with us to get in his new market tax credits, all this stuff. But his dad was here, and he's one of the creators of the cloud, and he's the head of data at Microsoft. So I'm getting ready to fly there, talk to them too about how we prepare our kids. We built out a classroom, so this is is it too big? No, we got all kinds of stuff in here. In the bottom here, this is a barbershop and hair salon. And we also have a laundry room and stuff in there. So if you're homeless, whatever, a kid needs to come get their hair done. You know, a lot of our children don't come to school because they don't look good in middle school. We're gonna work with JP Hair Design and a salon locally to make sure our kids are ready for prime time when they come to school, because we also wear uniforms. You gotta look the part. So we just basically built classrooms up, a tech area, music, art, everything you can imagine is in here. And then this space is for our early college. And they redesigned some things in here, but in that middle orange area, that's only for if we run out of space or we need a place to teach a college level class, that can happen right on site. So then that's the first phase. The second phase you guys are gonna soon be hearing about is the athletic center. We're gonna tear down that parking deck and build up 180,000 square foot parking athletic center. That'll be Wisconsin's, southern Wisconsin's only indoor soccer field. Be FIFA regulated. We're gonna have college-sized basketball courts. We were thinking of lining a football field in here too. We haven't decided yet. We don't see us competing inside here for football, but it'd be a great place for children to train. Both our school building and this building will be open to the community outside of school days, school hours. So people have a place to go. This is the first phase. Nobody has seen this yet. This is one of the renderings of the athletic center. That will face the belt line.
Oh, my
Cool.
So instead of seeing a parking deck, that's the indoor soccer field on the right. To the left is just one of the 2 basketball courts, both high school, college size. We can run sectional tournaments. We can do different things in here if we wanted to. But we want to show our kids, you see it's underground parking. There's a little car coming out of there. There's an underground now access point. So we're just going to keep that. And then this is the front. And you see the light coming through there. It's going to have lights, but it also can rain through there. So the lights are around the rim, but this is sacred native land. So it's right where the different lakes meet right on the Yahara River site, and we are going to work with the whole chunk to bless the land. And so we created this little round area that you see them all standing on as a representation of our support of the unity, because that's where all the 13 tribes of Wisconsin were coming to meet out their differences of trade, everything. So we wanted to keep that going. So this is what we're doing.
Wow.
Yeah, so sir.
You are amazing.
He's super amazing.
And Kaleem, you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And we've known each other for a long, long time.
Long time.
And I remember, you know, jumping on board with you early on when you had the vision for Madison Prep.
That's right.
We brought Chicago Prep up here, and Steve Goldberg hosted us at CUNY Mitchell that Saturday. And you had this vision of young men, high school age, wearing uniforms and going through school. And I was all on board with you because I saw what the Madison School District was doing with their young people, and having coached in Spartans with Randy for so many years. What you kept working, and you've kind of done it now, starting with young kids, and you've kind of worked the other way up. And I'm so proud of you and what you have stuck with and what you are doing to transform this community. It is absolutely amazing.
What can we do for you as a Rotary, our Rotary?
2 things. One is find a way to be a part of it. As we get the school open, there'll be opportunities to volunteer. But you know what we want to do? We want to show Madison and Dane County and everywhere else, y'all could do this. That's why you never hear us compare ourselves to them. You know, they have 70%. We talk about the achievement gap, but I work for Madison School. 70% of those people could turn the lights on for our kids. But we've gotten so mired in the muck of all the daily challenges that we each personally experience, and then that the world is experiencing too, that we've lost sight of falling in love with each other. You know, that's what I tell my team, y'all gotta fall in love with the problems. You know, because the problems walk through our school every day. But if you don't love them, you can't lead them. If you can't lead them, you can't teach them. It starts with the love word first. And so being able to be a part of this is important. Being able to show our kids in the community that, you know, I'm all down with Black power and everything too, but what I grew up with was about empowering ourselves. It wasn't about me dissing you. And that's happened. And you see the other reverse. People are talking about the Capitol and the U.S. Capitol, and they ransacked the Capitol. I'm like, look, I worked in D.C. in politics. I probably would have joined them. I mean, to be honest with you, those people who are doing that, when you just be real, middle America, these small towns, I know where y'all are from. I've driven around. I've been around, man. And the poverty that you see in some of these rural communities looks like you would see in a lot of urban cities. The social chaos and the family and the community, the lack of a broad view of what my possibilities are. These kids are dealing with that, and when you can't see the world, you see the world through this. And that's dangerous. When you can't see me and I can't see you. And so we've got to show people. That's why I loved it. It was on the Beltline. All this stuff just happens for a reason. It's like, yep, we're gonna bring everybody here. You guys want to play games? You want to hang out? It's not my money. You know what I'm saying? So I've been asking people for it, but that's how I look at it. Like, we're building this for the community. The community gave us the money to do it. So however, when this thing, as it moves forward, Maryland can connect with you guys. You don't have to, it's not always about writing a check. We always can use that. But, come share who you are. That's why I wanted this gentleman's name. I want we've got to collect these things. We need our children to know about who they are and who these wonderful people are in our community. They won't grow up with these hard views if they do that.
I'd just like to say thank you also for putting the practical piece into it about understanding how important it is for people to understand about their finances, how important it is to have a driver's license. At this funeral, as we went to the cemetery, somebody cut in front of me in the funeral line. It's like, people don't even know you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing the things that nobody is teaching anybody anymore. So thank you for having that be a part of this as well. I'm so excited about this. Thank you.
We've actually got a question from someone on
sorry.
Zoom. So I was just raising my hand for her. So go ahead, Lori.
Okay, thanks. This is awesome. This is Lori Schwartz speaking. I just have a question. Is this girls and boys at this point?
Is it what?
Girls
Only
and boys.
boys.
Yes, girls and boys. We stepped away from the single gender program. One time, you kind of learn more, too. But, I tell people, I get too much credit for vision. Literally, I've scanned the country. I've went places. I know a lot of people. I'm more of a social architect. I went to school to be either a doctor, I was going to do that, or architecture. Once I finally got my act together in school, that's when I transferred to Madison, was to be a medical doctor at Hampton University. But it's all the pieces of the puzzle that people have said need to work in education, that we figured out a way to try to bring them together at one city. And so, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but what was the question?
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls, but yeah, that was one where people reacted negatively to it. And I'll listen. But I listen for do you just not like single gendered education, or is there something really in there that you're thinking about? And the reality is boys and girls are both struggling. So that's when we decided to step away from that and just focus on bringing them together in one school. Yes.
My question kind of segues on that. And how do you get your students? How do you advertise?
So Maryland, we get our students from all over the city. So as a school chartered by the University of Wisconsin, for the charter school part of it, the 4K through, our boundaries are the state of Wisconsin. So you could literally live anywhere and bring your kid to our school. It's not like boundaries when you live in Madison, you gotta go to Madison schools. So we have a broader audience we draw from. How many zip codes?
I know 22 different zip codes as far north. I tell people you can be as far north as Toma or down south as South Beloit. As long as you transport your child, you can attend. So right now I say our furthest families from Jamesville because they work here in Madison, so it's just easy to have their children be educated here.
They wanted to have some diversity, so
Right.
it's a good spot for them.
Exactly.
So 85% of our students are students of color, 15% are white. About half are, by the state standards, they consider 79% of our kids low income, but the way we look at it, it's more like 50%. And it's majority African American, but we have a little bit of everybody. And if you were to see the team that we have and the one coming in this year, it's by far the most diverse school in terms of staff in the state, by far.
Well, we have just, we're a little over on time. So
Oh, sorry.
No, it's been really interesting and awesome to hear. So I don't know if there's any last questions or, well, thank you so much. So I wanted to let you know that on behalf of you and all of our speakers, we make a donation to the Rotary International's polio.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
and thank you guys too. This is great.
thank you.
Is there a way that we can follow these?
And our speaker next weekend
Is Deb Gilpin from the Madison Children's Museum. We'll be talking about early childhood education.
All about you.
And also the new playground.
Awesome, great. All right, well, thanks everyone on Zoom and for being here in person. We will see you all next week.
I don't know if it's the reason.
I'm done with that.
Starting kind of